Hey guys, it's your pal Victor here from Cult Classics, and hey, I want to tell you, we just saw all of What If Season 2. Find out what we thought about it right now.
Night before Christmas, the stockings were hung by the chimney, and the Avengers were fighting a brand new superpower.
I'm Santa Claus, baby!
Starting tomorrow, unwrap one new episode every day for 9 straight days.
So, who's our bad guy?
Yeah! Throw a holiday party. What could go wrong? What If Season 2, streaming tomorrow.
Hey guys, like I just said, we just watched all of What If Season 2. And I'm going to tell you straight out, I've said it before, if you look back on the channel, I think What If is one of the best projects that Marvel Disney Plus did with the Marvel IP on Disney Plus. I feel like there's clever writing throughout. A lot of these ideas are better than stuff they've done on other Marvel Disney shows, even better than the movies. And here's my quick review overall. I feel like What If Season 2 is the best Marvel project that they've done all year. It's better than the Marvels, it's better than Loki, all their other stuff they've been doing. I just have not been feeling it this year. Call it superhero fatigue, call it just, this dealing with kind of C-list characters in movies that I'm not super into. This show touches on one of the biggest problems I feel Marvel has in general, is that people really love the main heroes in the MCU, the Captain Americas, Iron Man, Hulks, Thors, the characters they don't really can't do movies with anymore. By taking the What If concept and remixing them, just changing stuff up, you have a ton of fun with them. And this series is 9 episodes. Just like What If Season 1, this does have an overarching kind of plot that wraps up in the finale episode. I'm going to try not to really get into spoilers too much, but I'm going to talk about what the theme of each of the episodes is and which ones I feel are really good. While I really liked What If Season 1, I did feel there were some episodes that were just straight up filler that I would never watch again, like Party Thor, for example, or Bro Thor. I hated that episode so much. I mean, there was a point to it to get him in the Guardians of the Multiverse, but that episode was just stupid. I can tell you, I don't think there's a bad episode in this bunch. Overall, I think every one of these episodes is good. I feel like people will have definite thoughts on episode 6 and whether it belongs in this show or not, but we're going to talk about that without getting into heavy spoilers. So first off, I'm going to talk about the first episode, and I don't have titles for these episodes. Eventually they'll add titles, so I'm just going to tell you what I think it's called based on the thing. So it's basically episode 1 is all about Nebula, and it's kind of like the What If Blade Runner episode. The whole thing is a straight up crime noir, and Nebula is the main character. The lighting, plot, and design here are kind of meant to evoke something like Blade Runner, and Nebula's trying to solve a murder, and the Nova Corps is involved, and some characters from Guardians of the Galaxy are involved. I can tell you this episode is very star-studded. It's got Jude Law in it. It's got Karen Gillan, and one of the main characters, here's where I'll get into mentioning characters that are in this that I really like. No, I'm not going to spoil it. There's some great characters in this episode, including an unlikely crime lord. This one's super fun. Episode 2 is basically what if the Avengers formed in the 80s? And this is basically a straight up 80s movie. I can tell you that the cast of this Avengers makes perfect sense if you follow the MCU in any form, and it's there's a couple characters in here oh yeah, that really works, doesn't it? The big bad really works, and it just has that vibe. I really like it or not. Episode 3 is the Die Hard episode, and it has basically like Happy Hogan kind of as the John McClane. This is also the episode that has Sam Rockwell as Justin Hammer. Overall, this episode is kind of like a tribute to a lot of Christmas movies. Like there's shout outs to Die Hard, obviously, but also like little shout outs to like A Christmas Story and Jingle All the Way. There's kind of a shout out to the Abomination in this episode, and like I'm not totally sold on it, but overall this is like the Christmas episode, so you know that's cool. Episode 4 is the episode we were supposed to get in season 1, which explained why Gamora is wearing the Thanos armor and why she's in the Guardians of the Multiverse. Basically, it's what if Tony had ended up on Sakaar instead of the Hulk, and it happens immediately after the end of Avengers 1. Jeff Goldblum is fucking hilarious in this episode. This is a really, really good episode. It has the same guy who did Tony Stark's voice in the first season, and he's in this season a lot, and I like him. I mean, he's doing a good impression of a quippy Tony, you know, Robert Downey Jr., and you know, after a while you don't really notice it. It's just kind of funny how the only two people from Avengers who don't show up on this show are Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., because they get everybody else. And you know, after a minute you're like, yeah, it's because these episodes are fun. A lot of these, starting with this one, which is basically like a Thor Ragnarok Avengers kind of mashup, are pretty fun. Number 5 is a really cool episode, and I'm not really going to spoil it. Basically, it's Captain Carter shows up in this episode, and it's basically what if Captain America the Winter Soldier happened with Captain Carter, and Steve Rogers was the Winter Soldier, but in the Hydra Stomper. And like, that's all you really need to know. It touches on some other movies, and I don't want to spoil it. But dude, this is a really, really clever episode. It's really well written. I dug it a lot. And it sets up the overarching like story through the season that you get little parts of it. And number 6 is the episode that people are going to be really contentious about. So number 6 is an episode that is entirely in the Mohawk Indian language, and it introduces a new character who is not in the MCU, in Marvel Comics at all. It is a character named Kahori, and basically the gist of it is, what if the Tesseract was destroyed during Ragnarok, and Ragnarok happened way, way earlier than it does, and this Tesseract landed in America in the early, like, 1700s. And it's really clever. It has a lot to do with, like, colonialism. This could also potentially be an explanation for how they decide to do mutants in the MCU. This is just my, like, fan wink based on what happens in this episode. But it's basically about a Native American Mohawk girl who is exposed to basically Tesseract juice, and what happens when Spanish conquistadors come a-calling. And it's really interesting. And like I said, people are going to have thoughts on it. I imagine we will have conversations about it, but it's a cool episode. Episode 7 is really cool too. Basically, what if the original Thor movie wasn't about Thor? What if it was about Hela, and Odin gets sick of Hela's shit and banishes to Earth and throws her helmet to Earth? If someone's worthy enough to wield her power, they can pick it up. But instead of landing in New Mexico, it lands in China. And it just happens to be that Wenwu from Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings is around. So yeah, it's a mashup of the first Thor movie and Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. This is one of my favorite episodes. It's so good. Wenwu, aka the real Mandarin, is in this. The animation in this is top notch. Cate Blanchett does the voice of Hela in this episode. She's in a few episodes, and it's really good. I wish this was a real movie. 100%. I wish this was a real movie. Okay. Let's see. Episode 8, the second to last episode of the season, does have a title. It's called 1602. That's right. Episode 8 is the MCU version of the Neil Gaiman story 1602. This is what I'm going to tell you guys. It's not exactly the same, but it catches most of the gist of the story. And I like it. I like Loki's character in this episode. Tom Hiddleston plays Loki, and he's like obsessed with a certain Shakespeare play. It's awesome. If you've read 1602, it has the same basic gist of the story with the Forerunner and everything. And, you know, like 1600s versions of Marvel characters, but if MCU characters. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's not the same story, just like Marvel Zombies wasn't the same story. But I feel like this is much closer to the actual comic 1602 than Marvel Zombies was to the actual comic Marvel Zombies. So it's fun. And this actually lays into the season finale, which I really can't talk about at all. It's really fun. It touches on a storyline from the Guardians of the Multiverse storyline from the first episode, or first season, and it's basically a finale. If the show doesn't get a third season, this is a perfect like kind of wrap up, but the way the show ends, it feels like it could get a third season, you know? So yeah, overall, I feel like every one of these episodes is like really good. The voice acting is top notch. I feel like the animation is better than it was the first season. I feel like it was smart not tying this too much into the wider MCU stuff. Like there's no like Kang or any of that. I think the only shout out is you see the Loki 2 World Tree in one shot. If you've seen that in the trailers, that's all you get. It's just in a shot. There's the trailer I feel is kind of like misleading because there's a lot of shots in that trailer from characters who are only literally in the show for that one shot they show you. But I feel like they don't need to do that. Like the show overall is so good. I feel like my favorite episodes are the Blade Runner Nebula episode, the 80s Avengers, the Winter Soldier but Captain Carter, and the What If Hela Was Thor. Those I feel are the strongest ones, just because, like I said, Kate Blanchett and the actor who plays Wenwu, I don't remember his name right now, famous Chinese actor. They have great chemistry that even works in animation. I don't know how dude, it's such a good episode. But yeah, and 80s Avengers I feel is like super solid. I feel like they could make that movie, you know. But yeah, if you liked What If Season 1, you're going to like What If Season 2 a lot. It's really good. I will do like capsule reviews that have spoilers, so you can check them out once the show is over. But basically, yeah, if you get a chance, check out What If Season 2. It starts December 22nd, and there is a new episode every single night until December 30th, all 9 episodes. Really good. I'm really into it. I binged this thing and the time flew by. It's super good. So yeah, if you like this, more reviews on the way from Cult Classics. Until then, see you guys.